CMMC Phase Two is suspended, cybersecurity is not. You still have to continue. What I did was to explain to them that the Department of War, though suspended the Phase Two rollout, and that necessarily means that the introduction of the C3PAO for organization to meet Level 2 in November has been paused. But it doesn't mean that the NIST 171 has gone away or the Clause 7012 that people have in their contract has gone to sleep. They still have that obligation. They have obligation to protect CEI at all costs. And the suspension will also give rise to a high potential false claim. Organizations will be highly exposed to the False Claim Act. Most of them will relax and report inaccurate compliance representation. So the audit requirement may have changed, but the security requirement definitely has not changed.
Welcome to Trust Issue by BEMO, the podcast where we go beyond checkbox compliance and get real about security. In every episode, we will break down what's happening in the world of CMMC, cybersecurity, and GRC. Straight from the people building, auditing, and living it. Real conversation about real security.
Hello, welcome back to Trust Issues, where Bruno and I mostly talk to people in the CMMC space about what's going on in the industry. Here we have today Dr. Smarts. She is a fractional CISO in the CMMC and AI governance space and works with clients in the critical infrastructure and construction areas, helping them achieve CMMC and other AI-related frameworks. So welcome on the show, Dr. Smarts. I thought maybe one way to just start is, how did you get into the CMMC space to begin with? You know, a lot of people I talk to either did time in the military or somehow have a funny story of how they kind of landed in this space.
It's a pleasure to join Brandon and Bruno on this podcast. I've looked forward to this podcast for some weeks now, and I'm glad it's finally happening. To your question, Brandon, my experience, I've always worked with critical infrastructure compliance initiative, where I dive into terrains that are not common. Right. I also remember my first time working on ISA 62443. It was new to me at the time, so very similar to CMMC. So I never had military experience. I just happened to find myself in an organization that requires CMMC certification. And then based on my previous background managing tough compliance initiative as well as compliance regulatory frameworks, it was easy for me to walk into CMMC. It's different than just the ISO 27001 or 42001. I've had experience working with very tough, cybersecurity framework. So that was how I dived into CMMC, the organization requiring help with CMMC, having worked with a tougher and stricter compliance initiative, both for North America as well as for some of the Australian regulatory framework. So it was just easy for me to, go through CMMC. Yeah.
Cool. I saw that you're a lead implementer for ISO 27001. Curious as to now you're doing CMMC. What is like your experience? Like, do you find it different, more challenging? Like, what do you think companies, like, were there anything that like you thought, oh, wow, like this is much different than what I'm used to?
Okay, CMMC is actually very different from what I'm used to. But to the point I made earlier, I've always found myself working with frameworks that are very tough beyond the ISO 27001. And because I'm also very knowledgeable with NIST CSF, I have done gap assessment with NIST CSF and other NIST series of families. I must confess, CMMC is tough. The requirements are tougher compared to other frameworks I have worked with in the past. But then overall, it's a good challenge.
It's a good thing, right? Yeah. Are your clients like, are they having more of a challenge? Like, I should say, the clients that you work with, are they having challenges from like a more of like a documentation, like SSP and operational side of the business? Or is it mostly in the implementation of things that kind of fall more under like DFAR 7012, like NIST 800, like the more of the security implementations?
I would say both, right? Most organizations just believe when they have all the necessary tool in place, they're already compliant. And one major gap I see is organizations don't actually walk the talk. They have the technical implementation in place, they don't have the documentation to back it up, or they have the documentation, but they do not have the implementation in stage. So I've dealt with both organizations working that have technical implementations in place, but not being able to translate that into their policy procedures or the SSP as well as the POEM, and also organizations who have nothing that I have to translate a requirement. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Yes, yeah. The one I work with right now, I had to translate did a gap assessment, identified all the technical gaps, and then provided the report. And then from there, I picked up the CMMC framework and guidelines, tried to explain to the organization what needs to be implemented. There were a lot of back and forth. No, I don't think this is it. But eventually, I was able to translate the requirements into technical implementation in a very simple way that the organization can implement. And I also helped the client to draft all the policies and procedures and SSP, right? So right now, the company is working with a C3PAO to help them understand how data flow, within the enclave and so that when they have a CMMC Level 2 project, they have a better understanding how to move, FCI from one part of the system to another. That is the point. We are right now.
All right, I always find interesting for me now. I think I almost start preferring customers who have nothing and taking them. Then sometimes we have customers that come halfway. They may even have done a mock, but didn't pass. And then they come to you and say, hey, I just need you to do X. But the just need was, well, I need to go back. I need to go check your SSP. I need to go check many things. I cannot just arrive. And it's just, again, an interesting,
Yeah, exactly.
so everyone, or sometimes customer, I have an SSP. Oh, can you send it to me? And it's 50 pages. And it's like, what's this? Not the SSP is far from ready.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, they saw it as a check mark, and suddenly you're given a lot of, stuff. And you're like, oh, wow, there's not a lot here.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
reason is people think CMMC is like another ISO 27001, but it's actually bigger than that, right? Even right now with the suspension, a lot of people, they decided to, relax and say, okay, yeah, CMMC is over, but that's not what it is, right?
What's your perspective on, the phase two suspension? How are maybe the different people you're working with? Are you seeing different reactions from different people? And some people saying, oh, wow, it's over. Or other people saying, oh, wow, it just bought me more time to get ready. Like, how are people reacting to this?
Absolutely. There are different reactions to the announcement. So a lot of organizations have actually mistakenly concluded that the suspension means they can stop preparing for CMMC, right? But the client I'm working with, I remember I received an email from the client and telling me, oh, yes, we can now relax. I said, no, you cannot relax. It is suspended doesn't mean cybersecurity is, okay? CMMC Phase 2 is suspended, cybersecurity is not. You still have to continue. And what I did was to explain to them that the Department of War, though suspended the Phase 2 rollout, and that necessarily mean that the introduction of the C3PAO for us to meet for organization to meet level 2 in November has been paused. Right? But it doesn't mean that the NIST 171 has gone away or the DFAS clause 7012 that people have in their contract has gone to sleep, right? They still have that obligation. okay, they have obligation to protect CUI. They have obligation to protect CUI at all costs. And the suspension, we also give rights to a high potential false claim. Organizations will be highly exposed to the False Claim Act. For most of them will relax and report inaccurate compliance representation. So the audit requirement may have changed, but the security requirement definitely has not changed. So that has been my message to, the clients that I work with.
We have the same message, but it's really funny that, we, the three of us and the work we do not have to be, I should say, like, I am not a defense contractor, right? My company does not rely on defense contracts for revenue. And it's amazing that we have to tell our clients that, hey guys, you have to do this. And they're the ones who are spending no time saying, it's all good, I can relax. We've had several people say, oh, they're not going to throw us all in jail. They can't. We've had so many people say crazy stuff. And I'm like, this is not my business. This is your business. I'm surprised that you're not taking it more seriously. They just read the headlines and they don't read any of the details. What do you think is going to happen in this at the end of the 60 days? Like, do you think that the CIO is simply going to announce, we have a new date, everything's good, and they might say the new date is January or March or April?
Honestly, I cannot say exactly what is going to happen, but I do have a conviction, and the conviction is that CMMC is not going to go away. By the way, organization attest might actually differ, but it doesn't mean CMMC is going to go away. And that being said, I also believe that the cybersecurity problems that CMMC was designed originally for still exist. And I also do think that we will see a more scalable risk-based implementation that may necessarily reduce the burden on small businesses, and at the same time maintain meaningful assurance for organizations that are handling CUI. So yeah, those are my thoughts, but I don't necessarily think
I would be like you. For me, my prediction would be they would move the date. The second is they may have different level based on the size of the company. So again, now if you are only X amount of employee, maybe because of the SMB setup for you is as required. And I hope for me they will come back with something, make it more clear what's the CUI.
What's the CUI? Exactly.
Because I think it's so vague that what's in it, not in it. And I think if they could solve this and make sure that the document had the right marking, I think this will solve the scope, will make it a lot easier. I hope.
Easier. You're right. CUI is vague, very vague, and organizations think everything is CUI, and they try to play safe by categorizing everything to be CUI. You're absolutely right, Bruno.
Yeah. And you have some people that want to make it so specific to try to the scope to be one machine. It's like, wow, just like, how so.
Yeah. Well, I talked to a lot of people who were like, they say, oh no, I don't really have any CUI. I don't really get sent anything. And then they say, oh, but I do have ITAR controls. I'm like, oh, okay. So you have ITAR controls, but you have no CUI? That doesn't make sense. I'm like, okay, but you're still on the commercial version of everything. You haven't done any stuff. Oh, so you're not really compliant with DFARS at all because you don't even have MFA set up, but you have ITAR controls. I hope that there aren't relaxed, risk-based, like, I hope they don't do, relaxed for the SMBs, only because I feel like the SMBs have had 13 years to go implement all of these different security things. And we're not talking super crazy stuff here. We're mostly talking about MFA on everybody, basically putting locks on the door. I mean, it's not crazy stuff here, right? And I feel like everything is foundational, and you've had a long time to go do it. And I feel like adding extra time to me isn't the solution. I would rather say the government say, here's money to go do these things, right? Maybe to go cover the cost of a C3 PAO, or here's some tax dollars to do for an enclave solution. But I feel like just kicking the can down the road and saying, oh, actually, you don't have to do anything if you're under 50 users or 20 users. I'm like, that's the entire defense base, are all the companies that are 20, 50 users.
Yeah. What I do also tell my client is CMMC Level 1, they are basic or foundational cybersecurity practices that you are supposed to have in place, ideally, even without the CMMC Level 1 requirement, even without you protecting FCI. They are the basic cybersecurity requirements an organization should have in place.
If someone doesn't pass CMMC Level 1, they should not be in business. I mean, this is that we're talking, it's just like, it's really the basic of security,
You will be amazed at organizations that are very big, okay, not medium size, okay, that do not even have any cybersecurity regulatory. They do not certify to any cybersecurity compliance framework. Because I have worked with such clients.
Yeah, okay.
I've worked with a $10 billion company who is not certified to any cybersecurity, and their cybersecurity initiatives are just baseline. So when I worked with the organization, I was also shocked. In fact, there was no form of information security policy in place. So your statement of, okay, an organization who does not pass level 1 must not even be. So that particular organization had to put in some measures in place, see the gap assessment of, okay, what do we need to meet the minimum baseline?
And
so the minimum baseline I recommended was CMMC Level 1.
But if they are not even
CMMC Level 1, there were a
they are
lot
not
of
even CMMC Level 1. They have been hacked many times over and they don't even know.
Yes. And then with CMMC Level 1, they found it very difficult to even implement some of the technical controls, like taking away the local admin. Everybody had local admin. Exactly.
At a $10 billion company?
Well, so it also depends on the kind of business that the organization is into.
Yeah, wow. A company like that has a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but the good thing is they have the money to do the work. So they actually definitely did do the work.
No, but the problem also, if from their perspective, I've been running my business and nothing happened, why should I start spending money on security? Because
eventually the organization realized that in order for them to be competitive, right, they need to have certain measures, certain security measures in place. They need to meet certain, compliance requirements. Yes.
But you need to already fire the person at the head of IT and replace by someone else, because
I don't think this is an IT problem.
No, it's not IT problem.
This is a C-suite problem.
Yes.
The C-suite doesn't care. They're not gonna. Nothing's gonna move.
No, but if I was at the end of the IT and I could not implement the minimum, they say, no, Bruno, you cannot. Or let me go somewhere else.
You do realize that security is not an IT problem. Okay, security is the executive problem, and security is a top-down approach, right? So even if the head of IT says, I need budget to implement this, I need budget to buy these technical tools so we can implement, I need to hire a resource, okay? And the executive says, no. The head of IT can
So
do
if
nothing.
if the executive says no, I would say, no, I'll not stay because I cannot do my job. Yeah, I get.
Everybody needs a salary.
Exactly, that's you. Not everybody. A lot of people sign the code of ethics and all whatnot. And when it comes to IT, a lot of folks that I've seen, they are more interested in, okay, I want to have the pay, right? They are not interested in what value am I bringing to each organization? What value am I adding to this organization? They just focus on, yes, I get paid, I have bills to pay, and all that. Exactly.
I will never want to have my name on a newspaper that company got back and Bruno was at the head of security and didn't have the basic, that's it. You are done for life.
It's tricky. I'm sure it's very tricky working at those companies, Dr. Smart, when you're working with your clients, what type of roles are you usually working with? Are you working with C-suite people? Are you working with primarily like people in technology? Like what are the people that you're working with?
Well, depending on the scope of the work, I work across different professionals, and sometimes I work with the C-suite. So if I'm doing a gap assessment, I'll try to help the organization understand what is not implemented, where they are at, and design a roadmap. Yes, I'm working with the C-suite. When it comes to we are implementing, yes, I work with the technical folks. In the oil and gas, I've had the opportunity to work with the field engineer, with instrumentation, IT, OT engineers, right, in helping them understand the vulnerabilities within their systems and all that. So I have worked with, depending on the space, I work with different audiences.
Let's talk about AI governance. It seems like a topic that you're really interested in. I know it's like a topic that Bruno is really interested in, especially since we're pursuing our ISO 42001, as well as we have like 500 clients, and our clients are starting to ask, hey, we have assigned Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot licenses. We're starting to play with agents. How do we manage the identity of those agents? What do they have access to? How do they review stuff, right? So very curious. It seems like this is what you did your dissertation on. I'm curious as to how you got involved in the AI space and why you're so interested.
Okay. One thing about me is I'm always at the forefront of emerging technologies. Right now, I'm already researching into robotics. Beyond AI, I know from 2027 there'll be a lot of robotics governance initiative out there. So I'm always ahead of the curve. That was how I got into AI. Yes. Yes, that's how I got into it. I try to be ahead of the curve. I listen to the news, what the future is.
I'm guessing there's a lot of robotics in your industry. I mean, and in the clients that we serve, I would say I feel like robotics doesn't really come up, but I'm sure it is in oil and gas and construction.
Yes, yes. And the reason I also dived into AI and robotics on time was while I was working in the oil and gas, there were lots of AI censored devices. Then but AI wasn't big as at the time. And I also did manage a few vulnerabilities within those AI censored devices. After I left, I started researching and doing a lot of findings to learn more about what I had done. And the current industry I work for right now, we have a lot of robotics. Like we use a lot of drones. And even though we're organization is not fully looking into what robotics looks like or what robotics governance is, it happens to be one of the organization that is at the forefront in the construction sector when it comes to robotics. But I'm already looking at, okay, the vulnerabilities within those robotics, the governance of those robotics. Like I've taken trainings and watch videos and done some postgrad certification, trying to learn more about robotics so that if robotics eventually get to the point where we have to do certain governance or risk around it, very similar to AI, we already be ahead of. Yes. So yeah, that's what it is. I mean,
So today, if you were to tell, our audience to think about, 4201, what would be the 2 or 3 advices that you will give them?
so if an organization wants to look into 4201, the first thing I'll advise them is, do you even have an information security policy in place? What is the basic or the minimum baseline of cybersecurity requirement that you have in place? If an organization is able to pass 27,001, the organization should be able to do 42,001. So we start from 27,001 because 42,001 piggyback on 27,001. Other than a few things that you need to put in place if you use AI heavily, or if either you are the AI consumer or you are the user, you need to at least have the baseline in place before you implement 42,001. So
And are your clients, are are they heavy like AI users, or are they just kind of getting in the water and they're kind of worried? Like, what does the adoption look like of AI within kind of like within your clients? Is it just let me buy licenses for everybody and everybody gets assigned stuff, or are they very careful and scared?
The thing is, most clients did not realize AI has been in their system.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
We see with our customer, many of them feel like we don't use AI in our
we don't
company.
use AI.
And you
Most
are
of
like,
them
oh,
do not actually realize AI has been in the system long enough, right?
yes, yes,
Because their employees use
yes,
AI.
yes.
I've seen clients who restrict employees from using AI completely. And I've also seen clients who just, okay, we just allow people to use whatever kind of AI they choose to use. Then there's also a third class of clients that have specific license. Now, say they have Copilot license for all their users. But the question is, do you think all your employees actually use Copilot? They focus on using the Copilot? They use other type of AI, right? So executive miss it where they're trying to restrict, employees from using AI. What I generally advise them is, what AI governance do you have in place? And most of them do not even have AI governance in place. One client I worked with, the first thing we had to do was to do an inventory of all the AI tools or applications, capture all of that I use. Then what kind of data go into those AI? And then developed an AI governance committee. Okay, what do we want to do? The first thing is, let's have an AI acceptable use policy. That way, you're not completely restricting them, but you're providing them with the knowledge that they need, how to be safe when using AI, and also how AI can impact the business negatively. So there are not a lot of awareness on the safe use of AI, you know, and that also falls under governance. So organizations just, some are afraid, some are okay, I don't think we use a lot of AI, some just try to restrict, but people bypass the system, right? So I'll give you an example. I have a work laptop. I'm only restricted to using Copilot. And then I have a personal laptop. In order for me to do my work, I can do Claude, I can. So I really don't go with you have to restrict them, provide them with the information, the knowledge that they need to, govern AI or use AI effectively and appropriately, rather than saying no to AI. AI has come to stay. How do we make best use of this tool? And then one thing I was saying is the onboarding of AI is faster than how organization can better govern AI. So the use of AI is faster than how we can actually govern AI. And there are not a lot of professionals in the field. We're not even talking about, we're at the point where organizations are talking about AI governance, but what about the risk part of AI? Not a lot of organizations are doing AI risk. A lot of organizations have not included AI risk as part of their enterprise risk management program.
Right.
Yes. So these are some of the gaps that
They see it as a toy still, as a toy on the side and not like the part of
Yeah.
For me, I see.
However, for an organization that has that is certified to 42001, you will definitely have all of that as part of your enterprise risk management program. You will do your AI impact assessment, AI risk assessment, and for you to be able to do that, you're certified to ISO 42001, where you're required to have ERM, and you're now adding AI element to that, which is like the foundation and then the transition. So yeah.
And for me, at least I use the idea, at least at BEMO, that by default, you don't trust the agent, because the agent may work fine for a few days and may go rogue. And so how do you keep testing it? How do you keep, and what are the guardrail that you have as soon as you see, again, the agent going in the wrong direction? How do you stop it?
How do you stop it? Yes. Yeah. The agents. No, to your point too, I also tell people that you have to be smart to use AI. Okay, take Claude for instance. Claude is extremely smart. You have to be very smart to outsmart Claude. Using AI is not just you typing in some prompt. You need to be knowledgeable in prompt engineering as well to be able to query the AI and even challenge the tool when it makes wrong decision, right? So
At BEMO, what we have done, so every AI that we have, every agent, we give them a level. So depending on what they do, they are level 1 up to level 8. And so again, the most advanced are, the most advanced one is level 6, which means he has to be managed by an employee that is also an employee at level 6. So I'm not going to put an intern level 1 managing an agent at level 6. Okay, so we match it in a way that at level 6, the agent is already very powerful. At least someone in a company that has been here for a long time, understand how it works. It's just
Yeah. I mean, there could be consequences to someone who isn't very knowledgeable about the company or the domain, who uses the agent that has access to a lot of sensitive information and could easily delete stuff, right? Right. There's write stuff that isn't correct. So write those to your CRM, your ERP system, to all these other places that other people depend on, right?
at BEMO by default. So agent by default, no agent is allowed to delete. So we have this full across, an agent cannot delete. Only the human can delete. So the agent will say, hey, I found something you to delete. It will stop and it will ask the human to go do it. So the human will go delete, and then you can have the agent validate that it was deleted, but the agent cannot delete because then after it becomes at the speed of AI, you can destroy your company in a few minutes.
yeah, Bruno, there is actually a risk also to that one, because what I have seen is a lot of human and not AI aware, right? People just, okay, let's use this very common one that's been making a lot of wave. For instance, there are a lot of cybersecurity jobs. People use AI to tailor their resume to beat the ATS. But it doesn't mean that they are very smart people. It doesn't mean they are the right fit for the role. The ones that are the right fit for the role, they are unable to use AI. Does that mean they are not smart? Or does that mean they don't know how to leverage artificial intelligence? The thing is, some people are more AI aware than the rest. The same way with prompt engineering. You can prompt AI with whatever you want. You have to be smart, you have to be intelligent to do so. And organizations are actually not training their employees on the use of AI. Some just roll out AI policy. Don't do this, this is what you should do. But do you actually train them on how to better leverage AI? If you don't train them, they will abuse the use of AI. Someone can easily, okay, a human can delete, right? A human that is not smart enough will just believe, okay, AI asked me to delete and then I go ahead and delete because a human will have to do that. But exactly. So beyond you putting that measure in place, AI cannot delete, human can delete. What if the human is not AI aware enough?
Yeah. And it's why it goes back to we we pair the power of the agent with the level of the human
Okay,
that can.
human,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because
Exactly.
otherwise, it's just
Exactly. So these are some of the risks, right? That
yeah.
are within in the use of
Yeah.
artificial intelligence. So, yeah.
Yeah. I see it's been really interesting at BEMO lately where you're like mapping the usage across different people and seeing like, oh wow, some people use for example, a person on my team is always running out of credits. He's always like, oh wow, my Microsoft cowork, I can't, I'm using it a lot. And you have lots of people who are not using it at all. And are like, how are you using AI? I'm like, how are you not using AI? It's really interesting to see the difference in adoption, even within our organization, of how, like, when we have these, no, not weekly, but every once in a while, we have these meetings internally where we show use cases of what we're building internally, how we're using it. And everybody's getting like a lot of ideas of like, oh, wow, I never thought of using it this way. or there were things that would take very long in the past. For example, a sales engineer. A sales engineer would spend a lot of time writing proposals. Now we have Microsoft Cowork, who writes 80% of the proposals for everybody. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Another use case that I also had with Microsoft's co-work is I built an agent. So this is what happens. I manually, when I get third-party vendor questionnaire, I fill them out. I receive the question. I look at the question. I answer based on what I think the answer should be. And then another client sent in, another questionnaire. I provide the answer, but not verbatim. Okay, because I provided the answer from my head. So I built an agent that searches the database. So I created a database of all the possible questions, of the questions we received in the past and all the responses, and I built an AI agent, to search whatever I receive a new questionnaire to look into the database and populate, and then I review. That has made my very smart. Then within that, I'm also able to collaborate with the technical teams because we implement a lot, right? We're making improvement to technical implementation. So I don't just rely on, we would use the MFA, but how do we authenticate? How do we, identify? And then do we still have local admin? What is the latest thing? So what I did with the agent again is to give the technical folks access to be able to update in real time. Okay, so it's possible that the answer I had there yesterday is no longer valid today.
Well, we did something similar, and sorry, we're gonna have to go in. We have another call in 5 minutes, but Bruno recently built an agent where he gave it, so on the Microsoft tenants, he gave it global reader access, because we had the kind of a similar issue where, great, you build out your database, but you go make changes to, your mobile device management, you make changes all the time, right? And so by having it access the global reader, it was able to go collect all the answers at any given time,
Yes,
right?
so we have the agent that does the collection automatically for our
Bruno,
CFDT.
I would love to see that agent. Okay, I would love
It
to
works.
see how
So
it works.
and it's scary because we have it, so it's a CUA, so the agent, you can see your screen, and it goes to Defender, click, screenshot, click, screenshot. So
I would really love to see how that works.
yes,
Maybe
I
we'll
could
set
show
up
you. So
another
again,
call. I'd
something
love
that
to see
before would take us days, now we get all our monthly collection in 4 hours.
Oh my, I would really love to do. So you're going to show me that use case
And again, we create the prompt, and as it changes, you can tweak the prompt, but you can repeat. So so we have the collector for the monthly collector, the quarterly collector, and the yearly collector.
Oh, nice. That's a good one. I'd like to see how that works. Yeah. Okay.
We can schedule a call, and I can show you.
Sure. Thank you.
Well, it was amazing having you, Dr. Smart. Love talking about the CMMC and AI with you. You've really brought a lot of perspective on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure, Brandon and Bruno, and I hope we can do this another time, exploring that topic in cybersecurity.
That is another episode of Trust Issue. In this conversation, help you think differently about compliance, security, or trust. Share it to help someone who is still stuck in a checkbox mode. Each week, we will keep bringing you more episodes, resources, and real-world insight from the BEMO team. Wherever you are listening from, don't forget to rate the podcast and follow us to stay up to date on the latest development in the GRC space. Remember, compliance gets you certified, but real security, that earns trust. Thank you for listening.